What's going on, everybody? Sean Pierce Johnson here. How's everybody doing out there? How's everybody doing? Let's see who we got going on. We got Albus Aaron. How's it going, buddy? Good to have you. Jay Steen in the house. We got Ben Coombs coming in. Great to have you guys here in the first minute. How have you guys been doing today? I hope you treated your significant others to, if you have significant others to treat to, a nice Valentine's Day. That you did. I certainly hope so. Your guitar was compressing a bit, buddy. Thank you very much, Ben. Please let me know how the quality is going. As we do these live stream things, I'm kind of, experimenting with the way things are going to be heard. So what you heard at the top of the video is just a little taste of the new X Cerberus multi-effect pedal board. Basically, it's got like a Marshall Blues Breaker style thing going on, a JHS Angry Charlie kind of distortion going on, some modulation delays, and all kinds of other stuff. So please do give me feedback on that. I'm trying to, make sure that this stuff goes off a little bit better. Let's see. Let's see what we got. And the cab sim is on too, so that definitely helps. But this is a pretty cool little multi-effect thing going on. I haven't had a whole lot of multi-effects in over the years. It's not, really something that I'm 100% interested in. They just don't always sound that good. But this one, New X has really done their homework, and they're coming out with some products that are definitely sounding great. And well, they just are great. I think that's a pretty fair thing to say. Doug J coming in from Suffolk, England. My friend, how are you doing? How is everybody? Everybody have a good day so far? It's going to be a fun night. At least I hope it's going to be a fun night. Just going to kind of run up through a few sounds that I'm getting here. Maybe make the rate a little slower. So it's not bad. There's a lot of good stuff going on in here, and I'm very, very excited about that, to say the least. We're going to definitely dive in, and we'll have like a full-on demo of it in the coming weeks, I guess I can say. Yeah, it's very good. Nux is doing New X is doing some really great stuff these days, and I'm very happy with it. And like I said, I have a cab sim running on it, and I want to make a quick shout out to Riley IO Acura. He sent me quite a few impulse responses to kind of go over and see how they were going to do. And I am using, I believe it's a Friedman impulse response, and I'm liking it. I'm liking it so far. All right, let's go into the chat and let's see who else has joined us. Quite a few people have. I know we got Aaron Albus Band, we got Jay Steen, we got Ben Coombs, we got Doug J, Topo the Pops, or Topo Pops. I hope I'm saying that right. But it's great to have you guys all here. Thank you so much for joining in. It is a very, very awesome. We do not have any new patrons to say hello to today. But if you are wondering why I bring that up, it is because I am still looking to get some patrons over on Ye Ol' Patreon. So if you know anybody that likes to support people like myself doing the whole gear a demo thing and making this YouTube content, please send them to patreon.com/Sean Pierce Johnson. I know somebody mentioned last week that I should really put that in the video descriptions. I just haven't gotten around to it. It has been it's been a bit of a long week, but to be honest with you, I've been trying to take a little bit of time off. I finally finished editing, and I've been, uploading and sending off all the NAM videos that got done. Final total ended up being 33. So that's quite a lot of work. That's quite a lot of stuff going on. And boy, it's just been sitting in front of the computer day in and day out. Trying to get these things cranked out. And we're going to have quite a few of them coming out. So if you've been enjoying them, let me know what some of your favorites are. And, just give me a time. Top of Pops, you're asking what state I'm in and what time is it? It's 9 p.m. here. If you're asking me, I believe. I'm in California. And yeah, or is maybe asking Ben. I don't know. I'm trying to follow the chat, but I'm in California and it's about a little after 9 right now. We actually managed to be on time this week. How nice is that? Brighten up that tone a little bit. Haven't been playing that one in a long time. So yeah, what else is new? I want to know what is going on in your guys' world. Let me know if there's been anything interesting, and we'll kind of talk about it. But to kind of get to the point of what we were talking about and what I was doing to reach out to you guys and ask about, is basically we're going to be paying tribute to Jim Dunlop Sr., of course, the founder and basically the main dude at Dunlop Manufacturing, who sadly left us, passed away, died, however you prefer to say that, last week. And it was definitely a piece of news that hit quite close to home. My connection to Dunlop has pretty much lasted from my first guitar lesson. My first guitar lesson with my teacher, he walked in and he was using, Dunlop nylon picks. And this one is one that I'm actually saving for like a collection personally. And it's a 50th anniversary, 50 years Jim Dunlop gold nylon pick. I can't remember how in the heck I got it. I can't remember where in the heck I got it. But it's a really cool pick. It's a cool little piece of history, so I'm holding on to it. May have even gotten it at a NAMM show. So I thought what might be kind of cool is to touch on a few of the things that mark the career and the life and the contributions of Jim. Show you guys some of my favorite Dunlop gear, just a few pieces, not everything, because there's quite a lot in my collection. and then just kind of touch on a couple things that you may or may not know about his overall contributions and some of the interesting connections that we're starting to learn about now that he's passed on, and people are sort of starting to release more intimate details of his biography. So let's get started talking about the man, Jim Dunlop Sr. Something that really surprised me right off the bat was he's an immigrant. He was born in Scotland and basically founded the company that would become Dunlop Manufacturing while still living in Scotland. Believe he was working in Glasgow at the time. And the interesting little tidbit that people have liked to bring up is that he was an apprentice to the guy who invented the hip replacement. It's just one of those really interesting little tidbits of history that leaves you kind of going, oh, okay, that's fun. And so that's kind of where he got his start, was by working for this man, and decided that he would kind of start tinkering around with different accessories in the interim as a part-time gig. Eventually, he moved to Canada. Oh, Canada. Yes, he lived in Canada for a short time. I do not remember which part of Canada he lived in, but eventually he found his way to the California in nearby Benicia, where he eventually got things rolling. And one of the things that I was really intrigued by as I was discovering more about him and what he was doing to get started is that a lot of the things that Jim Dunlop did within his company and with his products is that he was very cognizant of what the musicians were wanting. He was very aware of what the trends were, and was also listening to the needs of players, which I think is what any company worth their salt has to do these days. You have to listen to your players, you have to listen to your customers, and he was doing that many, many years ago, probably even before a lot of people really wanted to, pay attention to what customers had to say. And his first real hit in the industry was a capo, and he pioneered the trigger style capo, which was a little bit more reliable than the sort of nylon strap ones that had been popular of the day. But that was kind of his first big innovation. I don't know if that was what officially launched Dunlop Manufacturing, but I can say that one of my favorite photos that I've found over the course of, just reading all this stuff about Jim Dunlop is a picture of him in his younger years at his first trade show. I don't know if it was a NAM show personally. Um, just because I don't know the history of NAM. That might be an interesting topic to tackle one day, the history of NAM. But that kind of started everything out. And subsequently, he would, work on bringing slides to the market in different ways, shapes, and forms. I think of everything that Dunlop did, though, the thing that really stuck was when it came to guitar picks. Now, there are so many different types of guitar picks that Dunlop makes in various different shapes and sizes. There's nylon, there's Tortex, there's acrylic and old tex and jazz and regular and all these crazy kind of combinations. But the thing that I think a lot of people end up taking for granted, and maybe something that they don't know about what he did, was that without him, we probably wouldn't have the sizing of picks that we are used to today. And what I mean by that is if you take a look at any Dunlop pick, I'm going to just grab two random ones. I have a .50 millimeter Tortex and I did in my hand have a .73 millimeter nylon. We'll just go ahead and grab this Herco, which I believe is around a 1 millimeter nylon. Now, beforehand, and before he kind of standardized this system, picks were pretty much available in the light, medium, heavy gauge that we see it throughout picks quite a bit still. And there's nothing wrong with those picks. As a matter of fact, I know plenty of great players that just swear by Fender mediums. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Picks, there's a reason why there's so many companies out there that make picks that simply. But the thing that I really love about this particular system is that there's often subtle nuances between, say, a 0.5 millimeter and a 0.6 millimeter, the red and the orange Tortex. This particular one being a Paul Gilbert custom one that I got at a show of his, one of my more prized guitar pick possessions. But there's quite a bit of difference between these two guitar picks. It wouldn't seem like it, but in the feel and even in the sound. So, for the sake of argument, let's go ahead and see if that theory holds some water. I'm going to go ahead and go to the middle position. I'm going to start with the red Tortex. I'm just going to strum a few chords so that you guys can hear a little bit of what that sounds like on the main Les Paul. Now, the vocal mic's probably picking up a little bit of the pick scratching that you might hear, but when I play with this really light one, I feel the pick give a lot. So if someone like me who's maybe a little bit more heavy-handed than I should be, that might be a good choice. Unfortunately for me, they're just a little too thin. But when I go to the orange, the orange Tortex doesn't give as much. There's a little bit more pushback to it. So even if I lighten my touch, nice solid strum, but if I really want to smack it, it doesn't quite have that ability like a heavier pick to go ahead and kind of strum the string out of tune, which is a really interesting phenomenon. Going to jump into the chat real quick here because I see some questions and some comments coming in about this. First off, Ben, I see your question about what my favorite Dunlop product is. I'm going to get to it. Going to have to wait a little bit. Albus, Orange Tortex was my pick for ages. Played it all over the country. Love that pick. Switched to Fender mediums a year back. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with switching to things like that. Jay Steen, love the orange Dunlop picks for years until I switched to Dava. I've not tried the Dava picks, but I've heard a few good things. Ben started with orange Tortex and 0.63 nylons. It's what my dad used, and sometimes father knows best, I suppose. I used to like Tortex too, purple from Evan Ward. I used to like the purple Tortex as well. I used that quite extensively in college. I even have one right here. And for the sake of comparison to what we just heard, the stiffer picks, I feel like, are great for having a little bit more material to sort of glide over the string, if you will. So there's that. But for me, I see a question right here from Jesse Martinez. What gauge strings am I using? I'm using 10 to 52 Ernie balls on this guitar, and I use those pretty much exclusively is 10 to 52 Ernie balls. I actually did try Dunlop 10 to 52s for quite some time, but they became really difficult to find, which was something that really really miffed me because I was enjoying them and they were actually $1 cheaper per pack than the Ernie balls. But eventually, you walk into a Guitar Center and you're like, "Hey, do you got 10 to 52 Dunlops?" And they're like, "Oh, sorry, we only carry 9s and 10s. You could buy Ernie balls," or more like, "You could buy D'Addaриos." That's that's pretty much the story of why I don't use Dunlop strings more frequently than I used to. I bought like a nice big like 5 pack, and I went through those fairly quickly. That was the one complaint I had. They seemed to die out a little sooner, but they felt great and they sounded good, and they were $1 cheaper per pack. Oh well. And I just don't want to buy my strings online. I'm just not that prepared. Uh, Even though I was a Boy Scout. I don't know what that means. Maybe the Boy Scouts failed me. So yeah, 10 to 52 Ernie ball is what I'm using currently. Let's see what else we got. Jay Steen, those Graph Tech picks are pretty nice too, but are stiff. Are you talking about the gravity picks there, Jay? Because I do have some of those, and they are, yeah, they're a bit stiff. Aaron asking, what strings picks do I use? Well, I just went over the strings, and we'll actually get to uh one of my favorite Dunlop products as we talk more about these picks. Obviously, Tortex is one thing and the size was revolutionary, but the fact that we were given so many different options when it came to the guitar pick, that's kind of remarkable in and of itself how much they produce. Of course, we have our standard, teardrop, I mean, not really much of a teardrop, but our standard sort of flat pick, very nice in various different shapes and sizes, including one of my sleeper hits, the Jazz 3, which seemed to be a pick that sort of took the world by storm, and has been ad hoc and quid pro quo, whatever Jeremy, Hillary, Boob, Food, and Yellow Submarine says, into various different materials, shapes, and sizes. And boy, howdy, I have always come back to, this is going to sound really funny, the Eric Johnson classic Jazz 3. I have a normal red one and the classic one. And just for the sake of argument, to show you that I feel like there is a difference, check this. So that was the Eric Johnson. I don't know if you heard the difference, but I certainly heard it and I certainly felt it too. I just love the way that the Eric Johnson Classic Jazz 3 ages over the more sleek and slippery one. It ends up getting a little bit of a rasp to it, especially when you do some upstrokes. You can kind of hear it over the mic. I'll go ahead and go to the new one. Not that much that you can really pick up on, but I know I can feel it. We've got materials out the wazoo like Ultex and Delrin. Another one of my favorite Dunlop picks is this Aquapus way huge pick that came. I got these at the NAMM show when the pedal was announced that they were going to reissue it, and I grabbed a shit ton of them. Oops, didn't mean to curse there. Then we got these prime tones, which are a very cool kind of sculpted pick, a very unique kind of feel and tone. We got nylon Jazz 3s. We got gator grips. These 2mm gator grips are an absolutely killer pick for bass if you really don't want super scratchy bass tone. And if you really want to get some sort of kind of really fast, really smooth kind of attack kind of thing. I knew a lot of shredders when I was going to MI that loved these 2mm gator grips. Not for me personally. But my favorite pick, and one of my most favorite Dunlop picks and products of all time, is something that I still feel years later has not caught on, and it is the Tortex 3. It combines Tortex material with the tip of a Jazz 3. So to me, it's really the best of both worlds. The Jazz 3 is just, ever so slightly smaller than a normal size pick. And I got some pretty big hands, including my little Namthrax thing going on right here. That's what I walked away with Nam, was somebody gave me a wart. Fantastic. That was kind of embarrassing to have to share with you guys. Oh, but anyway, I just love the way that I can grip it. It has a bit more surface area so that I can do riffing kind of stuff. And it also has nice articulation so that I can say, really choke up on it and get some nice pinch harmonics going on. So just all in all, this pick, when I first got a little sampler pack, and I still have one of those picks from the sampler pack, and it's a 0.73, man, I was just like, this is it. This is where it's at. And so this has been my pick of choice for the last like 3 or 4 years or so. And so this was one of the innovations coming from Dunlop that was just, I had to get on it, and I had to get in on it, and I had to do it. And another sleeper hit I find is actually a felt pick. Dunlop makes felt picks that you can use for bass, and they're quite flexible. They're quite compressed, actually, but they have an interesting sort of soft attack to it. And then the way they're constructed, they almost have like a little bit of glue around the edge, so you can get a little bit of rasp out of the glue. It's a very interesting pick to use on bass. And then actually that's why I ended up getting some of these, was because when I was in recording school, one of our teachers had recommended, if you're looking for a warmer bass tone and your bass player is more used to playing with a pick, try a felt pick. It'll lighten up the attack. You can get the setting that you want out of bass, and it's just a very cool little pick and very unusual. But of course, picks are one thing, strings are one thing, slides, capos. What we all love is pedals. I assume we all love pedals, and it was really the Crybaby that really got the ball rolling for Dunlop in terms of pedals. And this is my Crybaby. It is my Jimi Hendrix Systems signature wah pedal. Now you'll notice that this is not the chrome top version. This is actually the late 90s, early 2000s version in an all black kind of standard Crybaby housing. You can see from the years of rigorous use. Original Thomas design, or so they claim. I don't know if I have a battery in here, so I don't know if I could plug it in. There is technically a battery in here. I wonder if it actually works. Maybe we'll give it a shot. But this was really the pedal that got electronics started at Dunlop. And by electronics, I mean, pedals and things. In the 80s, sometime, Jim had found out that the trademarks were becoming available and nobody was doing with it. And so he made inquiries as to acquiring the trademark. There we go. And lo and behold, along they came, and they brought back the legendary Crybaby. And boy, howdy, are we happy about that. There we go. And I really haven't needed another wah since getting this one. And I've had this one, I believe, since I was 14 years old. So it's been a while. It has been a good long while. And it's just very expressive, very vocal. Let's see if we can get something just a little bit more going on. It's just such a great sound. It's just got all that kind of goodness about wah that you really want there to be. And I have not compared it to the newer Jimi Hendrix signature wah, which I know has the chrome top, so it's a little bit more truer to the aesthetic of the old Thomas Organ Vox wahs. Pardon me. So I don't know if that's the case, but all I know is that this one it's very simple. I love it. It is absolutely killer. And I haven't needed another wah pedal since. However, spoiler alert, we will be getting some Morley action on the channel in the very near future. I just actually got an email from them today, and that new $99 wah pedal that I talked to them about at the NAMM show. I don't know how many of you caught the video for that, but when those are available, we will be getting one on the show. So I'm very, very excited about that. All right. So first and foremost, I want to talk about my favorite Dunlop Banner pedals. And I got to talk about the Phase 90. This was my first single effect pedal outside of like a distortion, a tuner, or a multi-effect thing. I bought this at the Guitar Center in Hollywood on Sunset Boulevard. I believe I was 14 or 15 at the time. And I went with a cousin of mine. I had like $100 that I could just kind of spend. And I had seen this in the Guitar Center catalog, and I was starting to really get into Van Halen, and I knew that this was the one that Ed had used. So I really wanted to give it a shot. I didn't even get a chance to really plug it in. On a whim, I asked the guy, how much is this thing? He said it was like $80. And I thought, sure, why not? I think I could go ahead and do with some of that. And it's just that classic, modern block logo. Let's go ahead and add a little echo in there, maybe. Something that not a whole lot of people like to do is really jack up the speed knob. But I find that once you get to a certain point with it, you can really get a nifty used to say to people that was how I faked having a rotary speaker. And of course, you know, the classic thing, as always. I don't know the whole thing. I really should learn eruption. I really, really should. But this was kind of a game changer for me because this really, I would say, started the habit of buying effects pedals. And God knows, and you guys know, I have quite a few of them. So it has remained in the collection. It's gonna remain in the collection. And I have gotten another one since then, and I have actually bought two others since then. I had another orange one because I thought this one was broken. Turns out I was wrong. And then I also have the Van Halen Phase 90, like you do. So I love this thing. I love it a lot, and it was kind of a starting point for me. Let's go ahead and jump back to the chat and see how everybody else is doing. We are definitely getting into the thick of it right now. Jay Steen, Morley Waz are cool. That's Albus Band talking the bad horsey. You had one. I wanted that one. Pretty bad. Jay Steen's got a 595Q. That's a definite modern classic. I get confused how I want to use it with all the different settings. I can understand. Can definitely understand that. We're definitely getting into some phaser time. Evan Ward, I have two phase 90s. One is script and one is block logo. That's how it should be. Definitely an iconic phaser. Big black rubber knob on to adjust with your foot. Exactly. Exactly, Aaron. That's exactly why I have it. Thomas Boat joining us from Germany. How are you, my friend? Thank you so much for coming in and joining. Hope all is well. And Brian Landreth has come in. How you doing, buddy? Hope you had a really good day. Welcome to the festivities. All right. We got right now phase 95. Jay, I am really interested in one of those so that I can, you know, shrink a little bit of the board real estate down. I would really love to have one of those. All right. Ben got his Maestro phaser and fell in love with it. Maestro phasers, there's something special about those ones. That sugar drive is underrated. Not my top drive pedal, but it stacks well. You know something, Aaron? I don't know how I feel about the sugar drive just because I don't really know how I feel about clones. For the sake of just respecting the fact that we're going to pay tribute to Jim, I don't really want to talk about that too much because there's a lot of stuff going on with the clone right now. So I will refrain from making any comments on that on the show tonight. But if you like it, that's fine, man. Evan Ward, you don't think I need to learn eruption? That's fine. If you don't think I need to learn it, I honestly don't think I need to learn it either. It's more I want to, you know. I've just always liked it. All right, moving along. This was another big time winner for MXR. Was the MXR Carbon Copy. I think plenty of you out there know this pedal and know why it is special. It was just it came around at the absolute right time when analog delay wasn't such a fad, but the technology was starting to become easier to reproduce en masse if you got it right. And luckily for MXR, they really got it right with this one. And I got this one very shortly after it first came out. It is an absolutely fantastic sounding analog delay. And there's an older demo that I did of it many, many years ago. I don't want to bother you guys with a full on rundown of what this thing can do. But for the sake of just showing you guys a little bit of the magic this thing can do, if you've not heard it, which if you haven't, I'm really quite surprised. Let's just go ahead and dial in something kind of nice. It's just got all the qualities of an analog delay that you want without being too short on delay time, but and also not being too lacking in features. The fact that the control set is pretty much the way that it is for just about any analog delay is great. So it's very simple to operate. But the addition of that mod switch on top and what we've seen on the deluxe is being brought out into, and with the addition of tap tempo, this thing was just game changing for the time. It really kind of made analog delay accessible. And for me, when I got it, I was still in high school. I didn't really understand the difference 100% between analog delay and digital delay. It just wasn't the way, it just wasn't something that I understood. But once I got this pedal, it was kind of world changing for me. I finally got to hear all the things that people were talking about. And it is just, it can't be argued against. It's a beautiful pedal, a green sparkle enclosure. The tones just sound fantastic. I've recorded countless tracks with this pedal. It's one of those pedals that you can't replicate with plugins or post processing and recording. If you want the tone of that, you record with it. So you better damn sure make that your parts are recorded down well. Now, before we get to this big honking red guy, we need to also talk about other brands that Dunlop has either brought back or helped rise to prominence. And we need to talk about Way Huge, because Way Huge, when Dunlop announced the partnership with George Trips and that they were going to relaunch the Way Huge brand, this was a big talk of the gear world and a big talk of the pedal world, because George Trips coming back after closing up Way Huge and relaunching the brand with Dunlop as sort of the parent company and handling a lot of the stuff, was just such a cool thing, because Way Huge really didn't have a whole lot of time to really exist. But in the short time that the original runs were out, we got a lot of modern day classics. And this is the Mark II version of the Blue Hippo analog chorus, which I actually bought a couple years ago, and I actually did a demo of. And I just loved how chewy this chorus sound. So let's go ahead and get a little bit of kind of a crunchy-ish clean tone. Let's see what we got. And then one of my favorite things about this is that you can flick up the switch and it takes out the dry signal. So you have just a wet sound and it becomes vibrato. And if you get the speed and depth just right, and this is something that I saw George talk about either with Pedals and Effects or Pete Thorne and Tim Pierce on their show, was you can get it to almost be like a Bigsby vibrato arm, which is a really cool kind of setting. So let's see if we can find that. think that's getting pretty close. Let's clean that up a little bit. It's kind of got that vibe, a little bit of motion to it. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's always nice when companies get the chance to reevaluate some of the pedals that they've already put out, because I find that the addition of this vibe switch on the Mark II Blue Hippo really opens it up. It's a very fun pedal to play around with, and definitely one of my favorites. Hasn't been on a board of mine in a while, but I hope that it'll be on one in the very near future. But I just love the fact that under his leadership, they were bringing it back. Definitely a big time fun pedal. Let's head on over to the chat because I feel like I saw a couple different questions and some comments. So I wanna make sure that I get you guys. Um, Ben, you have a few different Klon style overdrives. Which ones do you have, and which ones do you like the best? Hooking up a great analog delay, right? Yep, it can't go wrong with a carbon copy. It's an industry standard, as Ben said. uh Evan, I know we love EVH, but it's like I said, it's not so much a need, it's more a want. But it's like, if I don't need to learn it, it's not a big deal to me. I don't care. Brian has two carbon copies, one going to two wet amps in a wet dry wet rig. That's got to sound fun. I'd like to try that sometime. Ben, you wish the modulation controls were accessible without opening it up. That's what they did on the Carbon Copy Deluxe. They brought those controls to the outside and also added the tap tempo. So that's it's going to be more expensive, and it's going to be more taxing on pedal board real estate, but such is the way of things. But I definitely, if there were little tiny trim pots for them, I would be very happy. Actually, you know what you could do is, instead of going with the carbon copy, you could take a look at the Way Huge Echopus, which is a slightly more amped up version of the Aquapus, has a little bit more delay time, and to me has a lot of the feature set uh, built into the carbon copy, but on the outside of the enclosure, so that you can control it more, uh, you know, in real time, so you don't have to open up the pedals so much. Evan Ward says, I found a carbon copy with an oscillation mod, momentary foot switch. It's very cool. That does sound pretty cool. Albus Band Aaron is asking if I heard and am going to review the Super Lead. Saw it on NAM, but didn't hear any of it. Um, I want to take a moment to actually talk about this whole thing with Dunlop, and I really hate to disparage right now, but especially since we're paying tribute to the man who started the company. But it is notoriously difficult for me to get anybody at Dunlop on the phone, in an email, and really find out who I need to talk to in order to get, stuff on the show. I love Way Huge pedals. I love MXR pedals. I love Dunlop stuff. And I would love to work with them on doing more videos for them, because I feel it's important that you don't just have in-house content, that you have people like myself and like some of my friends backing you up, making content that you can then turn around and say, like, hey, these industry professionals, they believe in our stuff too, and it's something for you guys to watch. It's one thing if you see it in guitar rigs all over the world, and it's one thing if you see it on pro player pedal boards. But if you don't get the opportunity to hear it, are you really going to want to buy it? And I just don't think that you will if you don't hear it first. So I'm hoping, I have some leads on people to talk to, so I'm hoping that maybe in the near future, we can get some more Dunlop stuff on the show, uh, as in Dunlop stuff that doesn't have to be purchased with money out of my pocket, because I just don't have that much money to just be buying pedals to demo anyway. But I got nothing but love for the man, and I got nothing but love for the people that design the stuff and make the stuff. I've met George Trips in person before, and it was very cool to talk to him. It was a big thrill for me. Let's see what else we got here. Loving that Bigsby sound. It is just a lot of fun. Uh Jay Steen, I heard Carbon Copy Deluxe wasn't as good because it acted a little weird on the knobs and doesn't come through the mix as good. I always wanted a carbon copy. Huh. I didn't hear any of this. I haven't tried it myself, but maybe we'll see if we can work something out and I can get one and we'll kind of put it to the test, so to speak. Maybe it's time for a Stomp Box Smackdown, I think. What else we got going on? Ben Coombs, I was debating getting the Carbon Copy Bright, but MXR has really risen in price here. That's too bad because their stuff was always fairly affordable, and I think that's important right now. Quality, affordable gear is really what I find myself being attracted to these days. I don't really honestly doing this, it's kind of hard to need to spend money on gear. And a lot of the things that I end up finding to be more useful to what I do is the inexpensive stuff. Hence, like a lot of the new X stuff coming in. Jay Steen asking, I was about to put a blue hippo on my board, thinking these rubber feet are huge on the bottom. Then your video popped up talking about the rubber feet and dual lock on the board. Awesome. That was a total spur of the moment thing that I actually thought of doing right before I did it. So I'm glad that the video worked. Glad I can help out. Okay, so Ben has some Klon style overdrives, a Tone City Bad Horse, EHX Soul Food, and Crayon, and another he can't remember. And he likes the Crayon the best. I did not realize the Crayon was based on the Klon style circuit. That's really unbelievable. Brian just bought the analog chorus. Very nice. I have the old big box stereo chorus. Not like the one that I don't think it's like the one that Randy Rhoads had on his board, but it's of that lineage. It's a great chorus pedal. I had it on my board for a while, but I swapped it out for a Chase Bliss Warp Vinyl Hi-Fi. So yeah, let's move on to one of my last and probably the Dunlop product that I feel is the most underrated Dunlop electronics pedal of all time, and that is the Roto Vibe. Now, I don't know how you guys feel about uh vibe style effects, univibe effects, but I have always loved them and I've always found them to be incredibly cool sounding and so much fun to play around with. And I was always wondering what would be the one to really kind of do it for me. Univibes are kind of notorious in that there's all this lore about them, about like who really makes the most accurate to the original circuit out there. But being a teenager in the sort of early internet days, a lot of this information was not so readily available. And you just kind of had to go by what you saw in guitar magazines and what you were seeing on pro player boards. And I had seen the Roto Vibe on Zach Wild's board. I believe at the time it was also in Jerry Cantrell's rig, and he actually had it rigged up with like him and his guitar tech found like the position where he got the sound that he wanted, and they stuck some sort of like bar underneath there and just gaff taped it down so that it would sit in a rack and he'd engage it from his pedal board. And this was kind of the stationary vibe sound, and then he had one up front too. I can't remember if Slash had one, but it was definitely Zach Wild that was the guy that was like, "Ooh, what is that cool looking red pedal with the chrome top? Oh man, it's so cool." And they were getting kind of hard to find when I got mine. Uh, I think I think now they're actually kind of slowly phasing them out. I haven't seen them available much over the last couple of years, but I've had this thing probably about 10 years now, and this thing, bud, you don't even know. You don't even know how good this thing sounds. So I'm gonna show you. But if you really want a better idea of how it sounds, I did a demo years ago uh, on this thing, and we went full on into it. I did both modes and whatnot, and it was just all kinds of great stuff. So we got the two modes, we got the chorus and the vibrato mode, and it just and then you got the big knob on the side, which you can put the big rubber topper on, and you can control the depth of it with, or the intensity of it with your foot. So that's full up. And I usually back it up to about where the line is, about 2 o'clock on the dial, if I'm looking directly at it right now. But it's just, oh, it's throaty and it's warbly and it's wobbly and it's just, oh, you know, you wouldn't think, because I don't know how accurate this is to the original circuit, but it doesn't matter to me at all with this pedal, because it's got everything that I would want in a Univibe housed in a foot controller. It's crybaby size, so for my big size 12 feet, it's perfect. Um, I would really be interested to see if Dunlop would think about making this a mini version, kind of like the size of the mini wah pedals, because it is just such a great pedal. And I think if more players actually were exposed to it, that this would be an absolute hit, because I know people actually really love the Univibe pedal that Dunlop put out a few years ago. And so if you could imagine just having that, if they're able to get that Univibe sound uh that way in that platform and have it in this, I haven't put either against each other, but that would be an interesting thing to try. It just sounds so good. It sounds so good. You can hear it in my voice. It just sounds so good. Oh, so good. And then it's got the vibrato setting too, which can up the intensity. It's just such a fun pedal, and there's so many things about it that are just, I can't believe that more players have not taken to this pedal. It looks cool as hell. Look at it, like hot rod red, the chrome top. It's so simple to use. Your speed control is here, your intensity control is here. What more do you need? You know, I know years ago there was that new vibe that Korg put out that was apparently co-designed by the guys who actually formulated the Univibe. And it's like, okay, that's cool, but it's big and it's bulky, and I need to hook up an expression pedal to it. And sure, you can change the waveform, but it's like, at the expense of how much pedal board real estate really do I really care about how accurate it is, if it's going to be such a chore to put on my pedal board? For me, no, I'm not going to care. But all in all, what I really want to get across with this and talking to you guys about Jim Dunlop and some of the things that he has done and some of the things that he revolutionized. And because of his company, a lot of the things that we have, slides, capos, strings, picks, pedals, now getting into more accessories for teching, do it yourself tech work. There was a lot of stuff released at NAMM for that. There's straps, there's um, my God, there are so many things right now that I'm kind of running out of things to think about because my mind is just so like, all these things. But the point is, without the guy, we wouldn't have access to a lot of these things. And we owe him a huge debt for his contribution to creating a company that is sort of a conduit for a lot of musicians to be able to do what they do. And those are just a few of my favorite things. My favorite Dunlop pick, the Tortex 3. I still have some of these custom ones from the original run that I got. I got about 30 of them left, and I'm using them all until they die. They are great picks. Way Huge. I am so happy that Dunlop brought back Way Huge. It is just a fantastic, fantastic thing for the pedal world. Bringing Crybaby back from the dead, bringing the Univibe sound in a very cool package. And of course, bringing MXR back, another brand that may have been left for dead was brought back and given new life. And they've sort of rewritten the history of that company in a way. The original MXR stuff, yeah, that was fantastic, but they're doing just as good of work now for that brand under the Dunlop banner. And so those are a few favorite things of mine, and I'm definitely thankful for the people that came before me that made these things accessible for me as a player. I don't know how to design pedals. I can build them from, like a kit. I've done it before, but I don't know how to design stuff like this. I don't have the tooling for it. I don't know. I Having the access to so many different types of picks and having the ability to chop and change however I want and just having so many different tools for the player is remarkable. I can't believe that they've done it. And I think that that is something that we need to be very thankful to Jim for, and thank whatever deity or thing we believe in that controls and governs the actions of the universe. Even if we believe it's ourselves, we need to thank the universe that this guy was in it, because without him we'd be pretty lost, I think. That's my personal opinion. And Jim, I'm just gonna say it, cheers to you. Thank you so much for what you did. And I wouldn't be able to do half the stuff without your company and the contributions that they've made. So cheers to you. Thank you so much. Uh, it's just soda, people. It's not anything hard. So that's Jim Dunlop. Big time innovator, uh, big time dude. So tell me, what are some of your favorite Dunlop things? I want to hear your favorites. I've told you mine. Go over to the chat and see how everybody is doing over here. Get your swirl on. I like that. Yep. Who care who cares if it sounds good? Exactly, Ben. I don't care the accuracy of the circuit. Albus Band, Aaron, I think the minis are going to be a must. Seeing more mini wahs. I've seen more mini volume pedals. Agree completely on that. Especially when it comes to a company, not to mention the others because this is kind of focusing on Dunlop, but as I said, we're getting a new Morley wah in on the show in a little while, and they've completely miniaturized their entire line, and they sort of seem to be, at least to me, they always seem to be a bit of a holdout on that. It's like, this is our thing. We make these big pedals. We need to figure out how we're going to do it. And they've done it, and they've made them look really, really nice. Evan is a fan of the M68 Univibe, is dope. Ben comments, yes, they do make cables as well. Not tried them, but I do know that they make cables. Jay Steen asking, how is the mini Morley and mini Dunlop pedals compare in size? It's a staggering difference. The Morley, I would say the miniaturized way that they've done it is more in line with about the size of a standard Crybaby, but given the fact that the circuitry inside is different than your standard wah pedal circuit, being that it doesn't use a potentiometer, um, I think that circuit may be a little bit more, it may have a need for more space in an enclosure. I don't know. When I get it, I'll do a comparison and see how it matches up. So we'll just see. Let's see. Brian Landra says the great thing about Dunlop is that all their stuff is good and not expensive. It's just a brand you can depend on. Exactly. And that's a big thing. We need more man, we need more stuff that is reliable and affordable because, I don't know about you guys, but I ain't making any more money. My bills get more and more expensive every year, and I have to deal with more and more stuff, I suppose I could say. But yeah, I don't get paid anymore. Oh well. I'm not gonna go on any other tangents of that. Evan is commenting, the old Rotovibes are very desirable. Model JH4S. I have heard that. This was actually asked to me a couple times in the comments section of that demo. Mine is just the JD4S. Well, JH4S. Mine is the JD4S. I do not know what the difference between the JH and the JD is. I will just say that I don't care because this one sounds awesome. And I have not found a Univibe that meets it personally in a very, very long time. Let's see what we got going on here. Ben says, I don't think I ever bought a product from them and felt ripped off. I have the same string winder I bought in 1988. Man, you're better organized than me because I would have lost that thing by now. Oh, God. I think if I had the same string winder since, I first started playing, I'd probably know where a lot more things are in my life than I do currently. That's just me. But what do I know, Oh, there we go. Get rid of that. Nasty. I'm not plugged in. Let's get plugged back in. Shall we? All right. Let's do this. Can sense my steam is running out. It's been a long day, been a long week, but hey, I gotta come hang out with you guys for a little while. I don't take requests like Steve from Boston, Just don't learn many songs. Here's a nifty idea, just because I put down a pick and I was like, oh, that's not my normal Tortex. I got this big old pile of picks sitting in front of me right now of various different shapes, sizes, and materials. So how about we do something kind of fun? I'm going to just pick up the random picks. And you guys are all saying that this guitar sounds awesome. Thank you for that, by the way. I really appreciate it. For those of you who don't remember what I said was on the guitar sound, it's the New X Cerberus pedal. I'm using a cab sim out, going into a DI box and into the interface, and that's what you're hearing. And I believe the cab is, oh, it's not hooked up to the USB, so I can't find out right now. But I think it is a Friedman cab is what I loaded up. So just to have a little bit of fun so that you guys can, kind of sense a little bit of like this crazy wide world of picks that Dunlop is famous for. I'm going to go ahead and turn down the vocal mic, and I am going to run through just every single pick that I've got here on the table, and we're just going to play for a little while and have some fun. So I'll kind of just, show you the pick a little bit, and we'll just go from there, and leave some comments. Let me know. And if you have some questions, please let me know. I'm just going to start shredding. That was crazy. Oh, so many different picks, and it is kind of awkward with this thing on my thumb holding them because it's like right there. I got this little extra lump. Damn these things. Oh man. Uh Audio is bouncing in and out. Man, that is so weird. Not because I can't hear honestly what you guys are hearing. It's a completely different feed for me. So yeah, boom. Different kinds of picks, man. It's one of those things that a lot of players don't give enough credence to. They don't give it enough credit and they don't think about it enough. But I'm telling you, there's a reason why I keep a whole jar of picks in the studio because sometimes changing the pick really does make or break the recording. And I got a ton of them. I don't even know why I have some of these picks because I don't even use them. Here's a nifty little collector's item, which I actually ended up using. Does anybody recognize what that symbol might be from? If I turn it around, you might be able to catch the signature. I don't know how well. This is a Tortex pick that I got when I was 15 and recorded a demo at a friend's studio. And it turns out he's a friend of Vivian Campbell. And these are some of Vivian Campbell's Tortex picks from the X era of Def Leppard. Also have a Black Label Society pick in here somewhere. But I got tons of Paul Gilbert picks. I got a 2012 Paul Gilbert pick with a tone knob on it, which is very fun. I got an Animals as Leaders pick here somewhere. I believe it's this one. It's a prime tone. Great pick. There we go. There's my Black Label one. So I got a lot of picks. I collect them, I use them, and it's great stuff. Ah, right. I change picks more for acoustic than electric, says Evan Ward. I do that too. I actually use various different picks for even different guitars. But the T3s, and these are just blackout 1mm Tortex 3s that I use mainly for the electrics. But I'll tend to switch over to the orange Tortex on acoustic. But if I need it a little softer, then I'll just jump down to a nylon, and I usually like to go with the 0.73s on those, and those are really what I like. So it is getting to be about an hour and 20 minutes going on here. I think we've talked enough about Jim Dunlop, the man, and what he did. There's a lot of really cool, fascinating stuff that I found out now that he's gone. I did not know he was an immigrant. I didn't know that. I did not know that he has basically been doing side project musical instrument accessories since he was a working professional. It's amazing to see what this small family owned company that really started as a sort of a side gig turned into a revolutionary company within the MI business. And he will be sorely missed, I know, of course, by his family and his peers, but he will definitely be missed by us players and those of us who have used his contributions and different things that he has had a hand in creating over the years. I am completely leaving out a lot of stuff that he has done. I don't even need to go over because a lot of you guys know what that stuff is. But it's getting about that time. Some of you guys are on the East Coast and sticking around, and I greatly, greatly appreciate you guys hanging in there. If it is time for you to go to bed, please do go to bed. We will be back here next week, same bat time, same bat channel. I do not know exactly what we are going to do. However, one of the things before you guys go, I want to let you know. You might have seen over the course of the past couple weeks that I've kind of introduced this idea of a poll on the community tab of the channel. And I'm doing that for a reason. I want to help you guys. I want to help you guys drive some of the content that happens on these live streams. We can do a lot of free for all stuff if that's what you guys would like to do. I can kind of come up with some ideas and we can, get into them on the live stream. And that's fun and that's fine. But I really want to give you guys something of value, something that you guys feel like you had a hand in creating, because we're building a community. We're trying to have some fun, and I want to know what you guys want to do. So in the coming days or so, probably tomorrow morning, you will be seeing another poll going up with a couple different ideas that I have of what we can do next week on the live stream. um, of course, the Q&A option is pretty much always going to be there, because obviously that's what I'm here for. I'm here to answer your guys' questions. So when that poll appears, you'll be seeing it. And if you're watching this replay on the live stream, I'm going to go ahead and put a card in the upper right-hand corner for you to vote on. You can always reach out to me and email me. I believe my email address is pretty public on this YouTube channel. Feel free to do so. I totally will reply. I swear to God, I will. It's just there's a lot of emails coming in, so please give me some time. Jay Steen, before you go, please email me again. When I finally got the chance to ship my Christmas giveaway winner pedals, and we were having some issues at the post office with your address. Don't ask me. The guy behind the counter was saying like, oh, all these different issues. And so I was just like, fine, you know what? I'll just reconfirm and everything. So get that to me as soon as possible. Don't worry about it. It's still your prize. We're going to get it to you. I want to make sure that everybody gets the prize that they won. So, anyway, it's time to go, my friends. I'm sweating right now and I'm tired and I'm ready to wind down my day. And some of you need to go to sleep as well. So, thank you all so much for joining me here on the live stream. If you were watching for the first time tonight, please subscribe. If you're watching on the replay and you enjoyed this little recap and want to join the fun, please subscribe. Patreon links are going to be somewhere soon eventually. Please do consider showing some support and give me the feedback if you have become a patron. Thank you all again so much for joining me. And until next week, I'm Sean Pierce Johnson, and I wish you guys all out there great tone and happy stomping. Good night, everybody.